Good morning, Mr. Barber students. It is Thursday the 30th, last day of April. So even though April technically had 30 days, I think we can all agree April felt like it lasted about 3 months. The nice thing about me doing these daily videos is it actually helps me keep track of what day of the week it is. So, not a whole lot today, guys. It's mostly just a continuation of the stuff that's going on already. There is an announcement about grades that is circulating through, and I'm sure some of you guys have already shared it or heard about it on social media. I'm not going to actually talk about or post it until I get the actual official document from the district, and then I will go over it in detail on one of these posts as well as an announcement on Google Classroom. Also, make sure you guys are checking Google Classroom because the office hours have changed. Alright, real quick for Econ Gov kids, just some simple updates for you. The only real economic news going on today, or as of last night, was that we are now officially over 30 million unemployment or jobless claims in just 6 weeks. And the graph that really tells that story is this one over here. So you can see the surge in initial claims, meaning people who have lost their jobs. So we see this relatively steady bit. We see this bump in the Great Recession where it almost doubles. Then we see this nice decrease as the economy improves, and we see this long period of expansion. But of course, as I mentioned when talking about things like economic movements and all that, these things don't last forever. There is no such thing as a persistent or eternal growth. It comes and goes in waves. The problem is a wave should usually be small and in the norm. Instead, here, you see this massive spike in claims, where we see week by week the number and then just this immeasurable jump here. So, we can see the massive increase there. On the government side, because it's worth noting, since some of you guys are going to be able to vote this year, the California Republican Party is attempting to sue the governor over a process nicknamed ballot harvesting ahead of some special elections. Now, ballot harvesting sounds really sinister, but what it actually is it's just people signing up with representative parties, going door to door to people who have signed up online that want to turn in their mail-in ballots to a person. This is usually something that's done by people who are, say, disabled or too ill to leave, and the Republican Party is suing, saying that there's too many possibilities of voter fraud. Now, two things are worth noting about this. Number one, there is some legitimate criticism that there probably should be more oversight over these person-to-person things. So that part is legitimate. The part that makes it a little bit less legitimate is that simultaneous to one member of the California Republican Party publicly talking about how this is an improper way of voting, another member of the same party has said that what really needs to happen is Republicans need to get better at doing it. So basically, they've admitted that their main issue with it is that Democrats are better at it than Republicans are in the state of California. So you can feel free to read the whole article for the more detailed breakdown, but basically there's some legitimate criticism, and then there's some not so legitimate criticism. Alright, for World History kids, I got 2 videos on similar topics, so there's going to be some overlap here. But 2 of the channels that I follow, history channels on YouTube, Kings and Generals and Invicta, are both doing some mid-length documentaries on the Islamic Golden Age. I realize this is a little bit out of the purview of our class's historical period, but seeing as how I know for a fact you guys are not particularly well-versed in Islamic culture, religion, theology, and all that, these might be good videos for you guys, especially because some of the countries that are being talked about this week, and definitely some that you guys are going to have to investigate next week, and for the final, may be Islamic countries, seeing as how Islam is one of the largest religions of the world with something like 2 billion people. So, Both of these videos coming out essentially simultaneously is not actually a surprise coincidence. Nobody's copying each other. It's because we are currently in the middle of, actually we're in the first weekends today of Ramadan, which is the most holy of the Islamic holidays. And lastly, is a way to keep the mind sharp and spirits up. I have another game for you today called Never Alone. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce its proper name, Kissima something or other. This is a rather unique little game. It's actually what I started playing yesterday and will be finishing tonight after my son goes to bed. And it's a unique game. It's very short. It's only about 2 hours. I would actually not recommend buying it full price. I'd recommend keeping an eye on it, waiting to see when it gets really cheap, and then picking it up. This game was done as a project to highlight Native American culture. So this is actually a game that tells a Native American folk story. In fact, the whole game is narrated not in English, but in the native Inuit language from one of the Native American Alaskan tribes. So it's a delightful little story. It's pretty typical of everything that I read, watch, and play. It's rather melancholic, and it has some relatively light puzzle elements. Certainly not as hard as some of the other games I've recommended to you guys. So, really nice, especially if you want a quiet, pretty melancholic experience, which is pretty much my bag. Alright guys, I will see you tomorrow.